speech. What's today's quarry? Rabbit?
Dear.
This show often holds up a magnifying glass to how underestimated and belittled women are in the universe, and I'm all for it, but this interaction is a strange way to do it. We find out that Sir Gerald actually thinks extremely highly of Lady Rhea, so why is he being so f***ing patronizing here and assuming she would only be hunting rabbits?
We have absolutely no evidence to suggest the reason why he said that was to be patronizing, though. It would be fair to say that rabbits might just be more bountiful than deer in the Vale, so his guess might have been based on that.
Also, those aren't deer, Rhea. Those look like some sort of grouse. You can tell because deer are a lot bigger and don't have wings.
Wait, so if somebody is hunting for deer, that means they're not allowed to hunt for anything else while they're at it? Even if you see something else during the hunt? Are you an idiot?
Vale sheep might be willing.
Assuming livestock who are unable to consent in any way are willing to participate in casual bestiality. Come on, Rhea, I know Targaryens have to incest and all, but we need to draw this in line somewhere.
Everything wrong with House of the Dragon, ladies and gentlemen. A character said a sentence.
Daemon Targaryen is a dick to horses and allegedly sheep. Oh, whoops. And ladies of the Vale.
Discount Jeremy points things out on the screen cliche.
Also, I've replayed this scene more times than the editors, and I still don't get it. I don't think that killing Rhea with her own horse was actually Daemon's plan, but it certainly fucking looks like it based on the way he appears to be using the Force on his approach. I mean, maybe this was just a big old stroke of luck that he decided to take advantage of, but why does he then bludgeon her to death with a rock? I'm no pathologist, but I think that will make it look decidedly less accidental.
You know, I'm really not surprised that you didn't understand this scene at all. Let me explain briefly. Daemon wanted to make her death look like an accident, so he positioned himself downwind of Rhea and her horse, making the horse smell the dragon on him. This made the horse skittish, and Daemon's approach eventually made the horse rear and lose its footing, thereby crushing Rhea. As for the part about crushing her head with the rock, we don't actually see that happen, so it's entirely possible that he placed the rock beneath her head and slammed her head back into it, which would actually fall right into place with making it look like an accident.
Also, we've plenty of evidence that Daemon thinks he's untouchable, so would he even care about making this look like an accident in the first place? And even if he did, the fact that Rhea dies in a freak riding accident on the one day that he comes to visit couldn't make him look more guilty if he used her blood to graffiti the Vale with "Daemon was here, 116 AC, lol."
Do you honestly think Daemon is stupid enough to think he won't be punished for murdering his own wife? You clearly have not been paying any attention to the show. Also, we see in this very scene that Daemon is wearing a riding cloak, implying that he didn't stay in the Vale for a very long time. Therefore, your claim that his arrival here makes the murder obvious is stupid.
I knew you couldn't finish.
Taunting your almost murderer when it appears they're going to let you live. I mean, sure, she probably would have lost the use of her legs, but if Game of Thrones taught us anything, that's a quick path to getting cool warg powers and eventually becoming king.
Unfunny iron wheelchair joke is unfunny. Also, Rhea is clearly trying to taunt him in order to make him kill her faster, which is exactly what happens. You mentioned how she would be a cripple if she even managed to survive, which is why she wanted a quick death.
Stop showing me people vomiting.
If you get to complain about watching people vomit, I get to complain about hearing you make terrible jokes.
And if Rhaenyra succeeds in war will follow.
Assuming Westeros would plunge into civil war just because a woman sits on the Iron Throne. This is Westeros. Everyone keeps their oaths here. They're not the types to rush a half-assed conclusion to a popular story just so they can speed off to write Star Wars.
Again, this sin has no place in this video as it has nothing to do with this show. It's a sin of Game of Thrones, not House of the Dragon.
And to secure her claim, she'll have to put your children to the sword.
The princess who's yet to kill anything? Does he think she's just going to waltz in and kill a couple of children? Maybe you could advise your daughter to ally herself with the queen-to-be instead of assuming that two powerful women have to bring each other down like every stereotype ever.
And you continue to ignore characterization. Otto Hightower wants his grandkids to inherit the throne. That's his entire goal. He's a greedy bastard. He doesn't want his daughter to align with Rhaenyra because that would result in her children inheriting the throne and his grandchildren simply going along with it. Pay attention.
Riding off into the rain with your hood down. You have a hood, Otto. No wonder you're not the Hand anymore.
Hey, some people like the rain. Me, for instance. I'm not as much of a little bitch as you are. I can handle a little water on my head.
Look, I know it would have been a waste to bring this fancy carriage and not use it, but is there any reason they couldn't have docked over here and saved some time?
As we saw a few minutes ago, Viserys got seasick. Therefore, it makes sense that he would dock the ship sooner and finish the journey on land.
An outsider among the natives.
Creepily sneaking up on a woman who clearly wants to be alone to think.
Pointing things out on the screen.
Who has time to light all the candles in this show?
The servants? Next very obvious question.
This mural does not contain a sea orgy. Strange, considering the amount of semen.
Discount Jeremy makes a cringy sexual joke that isn't funny cliche.
Her neck and skull both crushed in the fall. The gods are cruel.
And according to Game of Thrones, the gods would appear to be particularly cruel to women, almost exclusively relegating them to the role of sex toys and tragedy pincushions.
Didn't you mention earlier in this very video how you appreciate the show's focus on female discrimination? With that in mind, you're contradicting yourself here. Also, are you claiming that women are the only people who die in this show? I mean, they were discussing Rhea's death, so you must be referring to the female deaths, as that was the context. But that's very stupid considering how a man dies later in this episode.
Such time when their firstborn ascends the Iron Throne, he or she will do so bearing the name Targaryen.
So this convoluted bargain has ended up with Viserys promising that his grandchildren will be named Valerian, but will take the name Targaryen when they take the throne. Cool, whatever, but how can he guarantee something that won't come to pass for another 30 plus years when the rate at which he's decomposing suggests he won't even be around next week?
It's called writing up an agreement, my dude. This is the verbal stage where they simply agree on the terms, but obviously they can write those up later. Beyond this, they also have other people in the room while they're making the agreement, so those other people can act as witnesses.
I hold nothing against your cousin.
Well, that'd certainly be a first for cousins in this show.
So it's a mistake for a show to break the mold? Can you just remind me what your IQ is? Is it 0 by any chance?
I say it is a matter of taste. I prefer roast duck to goose.
It's nice they're in air school with Laenor being gay, but this sin is for the food as a metaphor for sexuality cliche and needlessly confusing my stomach boner.
That's not a cliche, my man. Get a dictionary. Also, Discount Jeremy says boner.
By all rights, you should be queen of the Seven Kingdoms.
Corlys and Rhaenys have an argument the audience has already been put through for all of the we get the picture sometime.
Unsurprisingly, he's misrepresenting the purpose of this scene. The purpose is not to just remind us that she was denied the throne. The purpose is to establish Lord Corlys's ambition and to tell the audience that House Velaryon will side with the Blacks in the coming war.
You'll need a sworn protector.
These two are actually really cute together, and I'm looking forward to finally seeing a healthy and long-lasting relationship between two people I can actually get behind. Cindy's about to add a sin instead of removing one, aren't they?
Of course, that only seems like a sin when you ignore the story surrounding these two characters.
It takes 26 seconds for this conversation to start. 26! Do you know how long 26 seconds feels when it's spent watching someone slowly walk across a boat? Do you know what I could achieve in 26 seconds? Twice?
Discount Jeremy makes a cringy sexual joke that isn't funny cliche. Also, the purpose of having the conversation take time to start is for the show to convey Sir Criston's mood to the audience. This is actually a very good storytelling technique, but I'm not surprised you didn't understand it.
I took an oath as a knight of your king's guard, an oath of chastity. I've broken it.
Well, yeah, but that didn't seem to be an issue when you were pitching the literal sail off into the sunset plan a few minutes ago. The oath thing only seems to be offending him now that Rhaenyra won't promise herself to him and no one else. So the sin is men. Or monogamy. Or men historically pushing monogamy onto women as a method of control.
Nope, you're just stupid. Criston's problem isn't with the simple fact that he broke his oath, it's with him having broken the oath and still being in the Kingsguard. If they ran away together, he wouldn't have the guilty feeling of holding a rank that he disrespected. Also, Discount Jeremy sinned men, and that's sexist.
I've soiled my white cloak.
Maybe next time you can avoid that if you hang up your cloak before unsheathing your sword.
Unfunny joke is unfunny. Also, this line right here is what should have tipped you off to the thing I said earlier about Criston remaining in his position after having disrespected it. But nope, you figured making a dumb and unfunny joke was better than actually paying attention.
Same, Viserys. Same. But don't worry, we're almost halfway done with the season.
Discount Jeremy incorrectly implies that this show is boring.
Who couldn't be bothered to light all of these candles?
Aaron, I'm going to ask you a question that I'm 100% serious about. What is wrong with you? You sin candles for being all lit, or for not being all lit. Are you unaware that people in this world sometimes want them lit and sometimes don't? And I'm sure some of the TVSins fanboys are gonna try to argue that it was just a joke, but it wasn't funny. So...
I'm not unaware that in Flush of Youth.
Flush of Youth? You are youth! I know she's probably had to grow up a lot faster than your average young adult, but my goodness, she's talking as if there's been a 10-year time jump that the show never bothered to explain.
Oh my god, I feel like I lose brain cells every time I force myself to watch one of these videos. First, the flush of youth refers to young people's impulsive nature, so you completely misinterpreted that phrase. Second, what do you mean when you complain about how they didn't explain the time skip? How is it not obvious? Not enough stuff of real importance happened in a consolidated enough time span for there to be an episode during those 10 years. At most, there could be a compilation episode of several different events, but that would just be stupid. I mean, it really doesn't take a smart person to understand this, so your stupidity, whether genuine or forced, is cringy.
Maybe errors made, breaches in resolve, breaches or rather lapses.
It happened, Your Grace.
Thank you! 10 sins off thanks to Sir Criston Cole, who gallantly fell on his sword and spared us from any more of this tedious dialogue. Oh, he wasn't doing that for us, was he? Why is he admitting this?
He's admitting it because he feels guilty, and you would know that if you would actually pay attention. Also, he called the dialogue tedious, so you know what that means.
Sin you allude to.
I have committed it.
Seriously, why? It's not like he's going to get a reduced sentence for admitting it before Allison can get it out of him. Either she already knows and he's f***ed anyway, or she doesn't and he has a chance of carrying on as normal. Honorable or not, he gives this information up way too easily, just so that the show can have this, oh no, how tragic, he gave himself away moment.
Like I just said, Kristen is guilty, as we very clearly saw in that earlier scene on the boat. Also, discount Jeremy double dips cliche.
At her instigation, it is true.
Throwing Rhaenyra under the carriage. Takes two to tango, Sir Kristen. Or whatever the undoubtedly more bloody Westerosi version of tango is. Salsa?
Was that a joke? For the TVSins fanboys who find this kind of thing funny, how old are you and what's your IQ? Because it's not funny.
Rather than gelding me and having me tortured, you would sentence me mercifully to death.
Or take the black, right? If you're really so concerned about your honor, then you could serve in the Night's Watch. Did the show forget about Castle Black? I mean, did Sir Kristen forget about Castle Black?
Nope, neither the show nor the character forgot. This is simply an example of you being ignorant about Westerosi law. Knights of the Kingsguard cannot leave the Kingsguard in any way except for death, meaning that the Night's Watch is not a legal option.
Will I be remembered as a good king, Lionel?
I think a good King Viserys is more likely, but you're the boss.
Wait, he's not going to say anything else? Why? He didn't say anything sinful or funny though.
Hardly makes a good song, does it?
Lamenting the peaceful times you're living and ruling through because you want people to sing a cool song when you're not living or ruling.
Pointing things out on the screen.
I often think that in the Crucible, I may have been forged a different man.
Says the man currently dying from a case of sitting in a chair.
Discount Jeremy points things out on the screen cliche.
Every time we transition from the king looking ill to a big gathering of ships or people, I always assume we're headed into his funeral, only to be disappointed that it's some other event or wedding or whatever. I love Patty Considine, but funeral edging is my least favorite type of edging.
Discount Jeremy makes a cringy edging joke that isn't funny cliche. Also, you're sitting the show for your own flaws? That doesn't seem smart.
The discount Hogwarts dining hall is looking mighty impressive, but how is anyone at Gandalf the Pale's table supposed to reach half of the food?
It gets passed around? Have you never eaten dinner at a dinner table with a large group before? Also, Discount Jeremy makes two pop culture references that aren't sins of the episode cliche.
This is why men wage war, because a woman would never be ready for the battle in time.
Believing war is preferable to taking your time when getting dressed for a party.
Pointing things out on the screen.
Also, f***ing Jason Lannister. The man doesn't have Tywin's or Tyrion's brains, Jaime's charm, or Cersei's iron will. I'm not sure where the cool Lannisters will get those things from 200 years from now, but it definitely isn't from should have been a stain on someone's cloak here.
So you're sitting the show for having realistic side characters? That's stupid.
Cutting in line. Do you want a red wedding, Sir Gerald? Because this is how you get a red wedding. I'm assuming the place already has ants.
Unfunny joke is unfunny.
There's a sin for not RSVPing to the not quite the wedding yet wedding dinner.
Skip.
King will not be happy, right in the midst of his speech.
Thanks for the update, my man. I really hate it when my shows have even 1% subtlety or subtext in them.
Whoa, wait a second. Did he just sin the show for not being subtle enough? Holy shit, he did. Those words actually just came out of this idiot's mouth. Jesus Christ, that is beyond hypocritical. He's been sinning this show for how he doesn't understand it as a result of the show trusting its audience, but now he turns around and claims that he would be able to understand something without an explanation? This bullshit deserves 10,000 sins.
Oh, f*** you and the poorly paced dragon you lacklusterly flew in on. I will be so mad if the show is telling us that Joffrey has figured out Cole is Rhaenyra's love interest from this look alone. Not a f***ing chance. That's the least believable thing this universe has ever expected me to swallow, and that's including zombies, witches, and the fact that season 8 was designed to be watched in a theater.
The show is telling us that this character is super smart and was therefore able to figure it out from Kristen's general behavior. None of the other guards are acting like that, and he knows that it has to be someone close to Rhaenyra, so it makes sense that a smart person would be able to figure it out.
After my niece's wedding, I plan to fly to the area and petition Lady Jane myself. Perhaps I'll see you there, Sir Gerald.
Oof, this is building to something good. I can feel it. I mean, why else would we spend so much of this episode on Lady Rhea's death and Sir Gerald's rage? There's no way we're skipping past this drama, never to know how it was all resolved.
Yet again, Discount Jeremy is sinning the show for focusing on the more important and more interesting plot lines, rather than the less important and less interesting plot lines.
I know who it is. The handsome paramour.
Oh.
Sir Kristen Cole.
No, you do not.
Yes, he does.
A sworn protector.
Look at him. The man is fully struck.
Yes, because there's clearly no other logical reason for her sworn protector to be keeping an eye on her. None at all.
As I already explained, it's Kristen's behavior which differs from everyone else's. Besides, the fact that he's sworn specifically to Rhaenyra actually made it easier for him to figure it out.
dancing, spinning, changing partners, excitement,
making jokes that aren't funny, ignoring the show, saying ignorant things, excitement.
Risking this in a crowded room filled with the most powerful and judgmental people in the kingdom, especially after blackmailing one of them.
The fact that the room is so crowded is what makes it the perfect place to do this. Nobody would see it happen, and even if they did, they would just assume that they were exchanging a quick word, or even maybe just bumping into each other during the dance.
I'm
torn here. On the one hand, I love how Rhaenyra calls Daemon out on his shit. On the other hand, she's encouraging him to commit murder and ultimately incest. Call me woke, but I'm gonna send the incest and murder.
Even though it's a great aspect of the story, that doesn't seem smart.
Game of Thrones uses a wedding celebration as an excuse for a bloodbath cliche.
Nope, that's not a cliche.
Also, it might sound obvious, but this feels like a huge overreaction, right? Joffrey has almost as much to lose as Sir Criston does, so why start with the nuclear option? I'm guessing Sir Criston is using the Batman logic of if there's a 1% chance of the secret getting out, it must be treated as an absolute certainty. But nobody really liked that movie, so I don't think that's a great place to be taking life advice from.
Discount Jeremy makes a pop culture reference that isn't a sin of the episode cliche. Also, Criston is obviously just being an emotional little bitch. If you would just pay attention to the show, you would understand this.
We stand here tonight in thanks and praise to join two souls as one.
So poor Joffrey gets his head bashed in, and someone's knee-jerk reaction was to skip straight to the wedding, and everyone, including his boyfriend, is fine with that?
The show isn't suggesting that Laenor was okay with it, it's suggesting that the king and Lord Corlys realized skipping to the wedding was for the best, and therefore forced their kids to go along with it.
Criston isn't under arrest or in a f***ing dungeon or something after publicly murdering a man and cheating the Prince Regent-to-be.
How many times are you going to straight up ignore all of the world building this show has done? Nobody punished Sir Criston because that would provoke him further, risking the secret coming out. Even though not everyone involved knows what the secret is, they're still aware that there's something going on that could potentially ruin them and their families.
Criston.
Interrupting Criston's atonement for his crimes. This dude killed a man in cold blood during a damn royal feast. She didn't punish him for breaking his oaths to the Kingsguard earlier. Surely she can't let his crime go unpunished this time. She's going to let his crime go unpunished, isn't she?
And that's not a sin because she's ensuring his loyalty to her rather than Rhaenyra, which is a great aspect of the story.
Good golly, what a way to end an episode. This is one of the few occasions where I'm really eager to see what happens next. So many loose ends to tie up, you know? I'm really starting to like these characters and really understand what makes them tick. Especially, what are the actors' names again? I'll just pull up the IMDb. Wait, why does it say young Alicent and young Rhaenyra?
He proceeds to sin the show for the 10-year time skip, and I've already explained why that's stupid, so let's just add another sin and wrap this shit up.
You cocksucker! You don't give a shit, and I've been sitting around getting sick of your attitude! You fucker! You fucking bitch!